Maha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I thought I'd tell, are we good? No, we're not good. We need to be. Is that better? Maybe a little more this way. Hare Krishna. I thought I'd tell a little bit from 1968 because anyway I won't be around to tell about it forever. So we'll tell a little something of regarding Srila Prabhupada and Lord Nrsimhadev and Prahlad. Higher. This is the one that's limp. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that. Thank you. That's what we needed. When I first came, this prayer, Tavakara Kamala Bhare, was chanted before the Bhagavatam class, I think. We used to have, there was no Mangal Arti, but we used to have kirtan in class in the morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, something like that. And this, before we begin the class, this Tavakara Kamala was chanted. It was introduced as a prayer for the health of our spiritual master. And it was chanted responsibly, Tava, Tava, Kara, Kara, Kamala, like that. No one knew any tune or anything like that, but we would chant in that way. I'm not quite sure whether anyone knew the meaning of the words at the time, but it was a prayer for the health of our spiritual master. That's how it was chanted. Prabhupada later explained the prayer, Tavakara Kamala Bhare Nakam Adbhuta. Tavakara Kamala, your hand is like a kamal, like a lotus. Kara means hand, and kamal means lotus. So your hand is like a lotus. Tavakara Kamala Bhare Nakam Adbhuta. But within the lotus, there are sharp nails. So this is adbhuta, this is unnatural. In a lotus, you don't expect to find, the lotus is soft, but within the lotus, there are sharp nails. So that's adbhuta, unnatural. Why are the nails in the lotus? Dalita Hiranyakashipu, just to kill Hiranyakashipu. So this is the business of Lord Nrsimhadev to Parachanaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkrita. To kill Hiranyakashipu is not very difficult business, but the Lord comes more to please Prahlada Maharaj. When I was first coming in 1968, or rather when Prabhupada first came to New York after I joined, he was speaking about the activities of Lord Nrsimhadev and Prahlada Maharaj. He was speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam, every day a verse about Prahlada Maharaj. And practically he began every lecture. So Prahlada Maharaj is a 5-year-old boy, and his father, the greatest atheist. He would begin that way, and then discuss whatever the topic was. And for the members of the counterculture of the 1960s, Prahlada Maharaj was the perfect hero, because we were all against the establishment, and Hiranyakashipu was the ultimate authority figure. Hiranyakashipu was the ultimate head of state and the ultimate authority figure. And Prahlada Maharaj, although he was a 5-year-old boy, had no hesitation in doing what they call today speaking truth to power. Didn't care how powerful his father was. He just told things as they were. He spoke the truth. What's the best thing you've learned in school today? My dear father, I haven't learned anything in your nonsense school. But something good I've learned. The Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmi Nivedanam. I've learned about devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is that? Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehinam. Prabhupada said that Prahlad never addressed his father, my dear father. Asuravarya, oh best of the demons, or best of the atheists. Asuravarya dehinam. Sada samud vigna dhyam asadgrahat. For those who are trying to hold on to the what doesn't exist, asadgrahat, those who are trying to grasp what doesn't exist. You used that word yesterday. To grasp something that doesn't exist, asatgrahat. They're always sada, samudvignamana, samudvignatiya. Their minds are always samudvigna. Samudvigna, udvigna means disturbed, agitated. Samudvigna, completely agitated. Because they're trying to get something that doesn't exist. Who is that in Greek mythology? Tantalus. He was, I forget what his aparad was, what offense he did, but he was condemned to stand in water and, I forget all the details, but whatever fruit he wanted, maybe there was a tree above him and whatever he wanted was in the water. Anyway, he couldn't get anything. But the appearance of what he wanted was there. But as soon as he put his hand in the water, it would disappear. So this is the nature of material life, grabbing for something which is asat, material. Asat grahat means material truth, material existence, material enjoyment, or illusory or unreal. So naturally, sada samud vigna dhyam asatgrahat. They're always agitated, disturbed, what's the word? Confused, more than agitated. There's an English word, it's not coming to mind. Distressed, that's better. And perturbed, distressed. So for you, my dear, best of the demons, Hitvatma patam grihamandakupam vanam gatoyad harim ashrayeta. Better to give up your fancy palace and go to the forest and take shelter of the person who's killed your brother, Lord Vishnu. That's Prahlada Maharaja's advice to his father. Imagine, today if one of our ISKCON devotees were to meet an important person, president or some high government official or some wealthy person, we would say something a little tactful. We'd say something tactful. Perhaps you might consider some improvement in this or that. You might benefit from, you might consider. We would say something. What you're doing is very nice, but you just add something. We'd say this kind of thing. And Prahlada Maharaj says, the best thing for you is to give up all your nonsense, go to the forest and take shelter of Krishna. This is Prahlada Maharaj. Totally straightforward. A child is simple. Doesn't have to, sometimes even tactless. Children don't get it. They don't understand all the intricacies of polite and diplomatic behavior. They just tend to be very simple. Some visitor comes, my mommy says you're a creep. Right? Children are very simple. So Prahlada Maharaj's simple presentation, that the best thing for you is to go to the forest. So Prabhupada was speaking so many things like that. He was telling about the Prahlada Maharaj's instructions to his school friends. He explained that during the tiffin hour, means lunchtime, Prahlada Maharaj would speak to his friends about Krishna consciousness and persuade them to chant Hare Krishna and basically to take up Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada said, in this way, he ruined the whole school. And we were very happy. Yay! Prahlada Maharaj ruined the school. Many of us had left school out of protest or dissatisfaction with all their nonsense that they teach. So when we heard that Prahlada Maharaj had gone there and just spoken Krishna consciousness in the demonic school and ruined it, oh, this was great. This is like top. So Prabhupada spoke so many things. I think I'm like, who was it? Prahlada Maharaj's mother, when all the instructions were being given and Prahlad was in the womb, she was sort of dozing off and didn't get it all. So many things Prabhupada spoke. I was there for so many days and Prabhupada spoke so many things. And now how much can I remember? It's very unfortunate. Actually, we have some God brothers and God sisters who have wonderful memories. They can remember practically everything. They can remember everything. So anyway, whatever little I can remember, Prabhupada was there. Prabhupada was speaking about Prahlad and Nrisimha. Prabhupada was uncompromising, absolutely uncompromising. And Prabhupada was taking pleasure. When he described the scene where Hiranyakashipu was threatening Prahlad, and he said that Prahlad could see, is your God in the pillar? And Prabhupada said that Prahlad could see that from the top of the pillar, Lord Nrisimha was peeping. He was peeping, which means casting a hidden glance. You could see Lord Nrisimhadev was peeping. And Prabhupada told the whole story how so many benedictions, but still Hiranyakashipu thought, let me outwit destiny. But Krishna kept all the promises of Lord Brahma intact and still killed him. So it's a wonderful narration. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very fond of two sections of Bhagavatam in particular, this Prahlada Maharaja's activities and Dhruva Maharaja's activities. Of course, in 10th canto, so many topics that he would discuss with his confidential devotees like Ramananda Roy and Swarb Damodar. But we hear that he was so fond of Prahlad Charitra and Dhruva Charitra, the activities of Prahlad and Dhruva Maharaj. These are not to be neglected. It's not that for us the only good stuff is in 10th canto and that too in the Rasa Panchadhyaya. No. Prabhupada said a pure devotee doesn't reject even a drop of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada himself was always took pleasure in speaking about Prahlada Maharaj. And for us it was wonderful also because we didn't know anything. Who is Prahlada Maharaj? Who is Nrisimhadev? Even what is Krishna consciousness? We hardly had much idea. So it was wonderful that Prabhupada was speaking about these things to us. And we were hearing for the first time. There was no Bhagavatam, there was only the first canto. We knew that Krishna had appeared as Nrisimhadev, that was there in the first canto. And something devotees knew, they'd heard, earlier devotees had heard something from Prabhupada. I remember, I think Govindadasi, is she here? She did an illustration that appeared on the cover of Back to Godhead, if I'm not wrong, of Lord Nrisimhadev. So something was known, but the details were largely unknown, and the teachings in depth were unknown. So Prabhupada was disclosing these things, unraveling these things to us for the first time. So it must have been a great pleasure for him, and it was certainly a great pleasure for us. I think that's as much as I wanted to say. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prahlada Maharaj ki jai. Lord Nrisimhadev ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Thank you. You take over and you be like the referee priest who, fires the retro rockets. It keeps it all on course.
Hare Krishna. One moment, I'm just setting things up. Please allow me to just say, did you also appreciate the dramatic reading of the Bhagavatam? I know, Parivida, it is not easy to catch all the devotees and organize them, but but really you found a very, very nice, able and capable devotees. I was really, you had our attention from the beginning to the end. This is a very nice style, and thank you very much for the service and your blood, sweat, and tears to bring that together. I know, yes. Mm. When Nrisimha Caturdasi comes, I always hide somewhere because Parivida is coming, and because I do have so much other services. But thank you. It was a wonderful presentation. Really wonderful presentation. Sorry, Krishna, how to do this all. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Hiranyakashipu Vakshaham Shilatanka Nakalaye Ito Nrisimha Parato Nrisimho Yato Yato Yamitato Nrisimha Bahe Nrisimho Hridaye Nrisimha Narasimham Madim Sharanam Prapadye Tava, everyone, Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Singha Dalita Anyakasipo Tano Bringam Kesavadita Nadahare Rupa Jai Jagadisare Jaya Jagadisare Jaya Jagadisamne Jaya Nrisimha Dev Jaya Nrisimha Dev Jaya Nrisimha Dev Jaya Nrisimha Dev. Oh yeah. Oh, thank you. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nrisimha Deva ki jai. Just very, very briefly. There are, for myself, I take from the teachings of the Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada's explanations two approach ways to Lord Nrisimhadev. He protects from external danger. That is how Srila Prabhupada, he said to the devotees, this is a prayer to protect our spiritual master. And I do remember even in Europe that this was the understanding in the old time. We chant this prayer to protect Srila Prabhupada. We felt there was a need because he had suffered a heart attack and a partial heart attack in New York. Heart attack when he went and came to the West, and a partial one in New York also, where he needed to be committed to the hospital. So this is one aspect of Nrisimha Bhakti. to ask the Lord to protect us from obstacles on our path, external obstacles which could come when there is opposition in terms of people who are act as enemies, and also when there are obstacles on our path like health issues and so on. There is a verse in the Bhagavatam which speaks about this. Svapada mule patitam tam arbakam vilokya deva kripaya pariplutam utapyatachishni adat kadambujam kalahi vistrashta diyam kritabayam. When Lord Nrsimhadev saw the small boy Prahlada Maharaja prostrated at the soles of his lotus feet, he became most ecstatic in affection towards his devotee. Raising Prahlada, the Lord placed his lotus hand upon the boy's head, because his hand is always ready to create fearlessness in all of his devotees. And Srila Prabhupada writes a beautiful explanation. He says the necessities of the material world are four. Do you know? What are the needs? You need to eat something. You need to sleep. When there is danger, you need to pray. Wonderful, yes. But some defense, and then when you are in the, and then there is the sexual urge. These are four pushings in material life. In this, and now Prabhupada brings this to one thing. He says, in this material world, everyone is in what type of consciousness? What? Envy? That's a good one. Yes. Fear. Yes. In this material world, everyone is in fearful consciousness. And the only means to make everyone fearless is Krishna consciousness. Perhaps in our modern language we would not say I'm all the time fearful. We think, what is this old language? I'm not fearful. You could find another word, perhaps for the modern mind, anxious, about something. When Lord Nrsimhadev appeared, all the devotees became fearless. The devotees' hope, listen please, no, this is one of the sentences which is good to remember. The devotees' hope of becoming fearless is to chant the holy name of Lord Nrsimhadev. Jato jato yami tato Nrisimha. Say, yato yato yami tato Nrisimha. Wherever we go, we must always think of Lord Nrsimhadev. Thus there will be no fear for the devotee of the Lord. In our preaching group, we have this custom that whenever we get into the car and drive somewhere, we always chant first the Nrsimhadev prayers, because there could be an accident on the road in which we become involved. There could be, the driver could fall asleep, perhaps. I have been in cars where this has happened. And other things like this. So a devotee will take shelter at Lord Nrsimhadev's lotus feet. I have a personal experience when we had our preaching party in Kabul, Afghanistan. We stayed there in a bus which was parked at the back of a school, and we would live there and preach in the school. During the day, we gave education and in Puranic stories to the children in the school. They were Hindu children of the Hindu minority, and sometimes we had bigger programs. We became quite, we raised eyebrows in Kabul. It was the time of Ramadan. They were, that is the time when those of the Islamic tradition will fast up till night time, and they are naturally a little tense at that time. So we did kirtans all over the town. We would be invited, imagine, to Muslim marriages, and we would sing a marriage song, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We would, and some Muslim scholars thought, this is not a marriage song, this is preaching of it. So we soon began to see wherever we went, we were shadowed. Do you know what this means? Followed by people who monitor your movements. And we all felt this is getting dangerous for us, and because we were young, fanatic, and illusioned, yeah, nowadays you say enthusiastic for this. We really went over borders which were unintelligent to go. So we raised the anger of the people, and soon it was clear we were on the hit list. So at that time, another bus from Germany meant to go to India for the Nitai Gaur World Traveling Preaching Party, passed through Kabul. And on the bus was one painter who could paint very nicely. Maybe some of you know Jan Manalaya Prabhu. He's also known for his very good Nrisimha Dev picture. And we asked him, there was Chitrakara, Urdhvaga, and others. We asked him, can you please draw a picture of Lord Nrisimha Dev, which we can worship, because the atmosphere gets tense around us. And we cannot yet leave. There were technical reasons for the bus. We needed to stay. So he painted a picture, he drew a picture, and we worshipped it. And I remember one morning, I had to go to where we would answer nature's call. That was in the corner of the schoolyard, and there was a big hole, and we would sit there and answer the human necessity, So when I was there sitting, doing what is not to be no need to talk about, I saw 6 feet, or 3 pairs of 6 feet of this were 3 people. They were there, and they were talking in a hushed voice before this toilet. It was a toilet, and I knew my time has come. My assassinators are waiting outside. I knew that by the talk, by the hushed voices. Nobody waits before a bathroom, 3 people. They didn't want to go there themselves. So, yes, I knew this is the end of the German brahmachari in in the ditch of a stinking toilet. You know, it will be killed and thrown into the toilet, and it will be covered and gone. So I prayed to Nrisimha, and then I got an idea. I jumped up. I did not dress properly to have the shock effect, and ran out of the bathroom. It's not a bathroom, it is a plumpsklo, and shouted very desperately the name of Lord Nrisimha. Jai Nrisimha, Jai Nrisimha. And I caught them by surprise and could somehow run through them into the bus. And before the bus, we had our bodyguard. He was a bodyguard. He had, I remember, he had 6 toes, not 5 toes. He was one of these, you know, I don't want to sound derogative. It was a person on his path of development. And he confronted the 3 people who ran behind me, and he was dangerously fighting with them. They had knives, and at the end he could chase them away, but he was lying in a pool of blood. He was cut by the knives which were meant to cut my throat. And we didn't dare to get out of the bus immediately, but after some time when they were gone, and we then informed people, and he was brought to the hospital, and we visited him. He survived. But this is my own little story of how Lord Nrisimha has protected my external life, my physical body and the body of the devotees. He has made us fearless in Kabul. But Vaishnavas know that our problem are not external enemies. Srila Prabhupada, when he was asked, I repeat this from yesterday's class, who are the enemies of the devotees? Or he was asked in singular, who is the worst enemy of the devotee? And Prabhupada answered, he himself is his own worst enemy. That is in Paris. What this really means is that we have these things, lust, greed, anger, etc., in our heart. They're internal enemies. Now the worst enemy for Vaishnavas of all these, what would you say? Envy. Someone said envy, and that is a fact. It's that enviousness in the heart which comes from the feeling I'm not good enough, it is life is not good enough to me. And when we see another one, we are envious towards them. Ultimately, this envy is something directed towards Krishna. We are not understanding that everything works under Krishna's control, and everyone is given their talents and their abilities and opportunities by Krishna's control. There is no, it's not appropriate to be envious because it is Krishna who has given everyone his opportunity. Prabhupada writes about envy. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manascha bhadram bhajatat adokshayet. It means we may not be cleaned of envy, But as we move in the process, we can see if we are moving forward really by seeing how unenvious, or how is the English word, non-envious we have become. Please, my dear devotees, look for a moment into your own heart. You don't need to speak in the public about this embarrassing fact. How free are you from envy? How happy are you about the successes of someone else? How well-wishing are you for the devotees and the people in general? How is it going on your journey? Therefore, I think you will recognize, ooh, yes, in theory, I'm fine. In praxis, there's room for improvement in my life. So therefore, Prabhupada continues, because there's envy, therefore we should pray to Lord Nrisimha to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir Nrisimho Hridaye Nrisimha. Bahir Nrisimho Hridaye Nrisimha. Let Lord Nrisimha sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean, so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. So these are the two ways in which the Lord can touch us. He can touch our life by protecting it from outside, enemies. We heard one Kabul example. I think all of us could give examples by now. But more important perhaps for Vaishnavas is to pray for the Lord to protect him from internal enemies, which sit in the core of the heart, first and foremost, this envious mindset. My dear devotees, on today's, we always have heard, when the Lord appears on his appearance day, he's especially mercifully inclined towards the devotees. I want to encourage all of you today to have those moments, alone moments perhaps, or personal moments, or God moments, as some say, where you are with the Lord. Don't make an Instagram of your photo as you are praying. This is really only for you and the Lord. And pray. Pray for something. Don't pray for something you don't mean. Today, people talk in one way, think in another way, and act in yet another way. Kali Yuga. So talk to the Lord in the way you think and in the way you are prepared to act afterwards, when you perhaps get some clarity or some blessing. And then your Nrisimha Caturdasi will be a rich Nrisimha Caturdasi, where you come back from this wonderful project with the blessings of the Lord, which will make the impossible possible, or which will help you to accomplish something which you cannot accomplish. Here comes a difficult English word, New York slang, on your own steam. You can't do this on your own, no? So therefore such prayers can be said externally for something external, or also internal. Thank you very much. Lord Nrisimha ki jai. Shri Prahlada Maharaja ki jai. Nrisimha Caturdasi ki jai. Hare Krishna. I'm going. The next speaker will now come.
Hare Krishna. Our Satchidananda Maharshi, he used one word in German. I could not control my laughter. Plumpsklo. You cannot translate this. Anyway, I was thinking we could maybe use the time for a couple of minutes to stretch our legs and go to the Plumpsklo. Hare Krishna. Yeah, difficult. I mean, after this a dramatic reading, it becomes difficult to give a class in a normal way. Fantastic. So I would like to read something from Srila Prabhupada's purport, Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Lord, the original Lord. Prahlada Maharaja is our Guru, and Krishna is our worshipable God. As advised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Krishna Pasadipai Bhakti Lata Bij. If we can be successful in getting the mercy of Prahlada Maharaj and also that of Nrisimha Dev, then our Krishna consciousness movement will be extremely successful. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We also heard some story from Satchidananda Maharaj about the dangers sometimes devotees have to face when they spread Krishna consciousness. And as Maharaj also mentioned, we have to use our common sense as well in order not to encounter unnecessary dangers. Like I remember in Germany in the early days, we used to go on Hainam to the red light district in Hamburg. So there were a lot of drunkards and, questionable people. So we went there because we thought we have to give the mercy to the most fallen. So we went there on a regular basis. And it happened so that sometimes a drunkard, he just took his, full beer bottle and smashed it over the head of a devotee. So I remember we wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada, what shall we do? And Prabhupada, he answered, he wrote a letter back. He replied, just go to another place. To use our common sense. But sometimes it is unavoidable, like from my own life, preaching in the Middle East, Arab countries. I remember I distributed Ishopanishads in that local language from door to door. And when I came out of one building, I distributed many Ishopanishads. I went for, I would say about 200 meters away, and the entire building blew up. So I was chanting, Nrisimha Dev, and with a white face, I just dropped to the ground. My legs were shaking. So it's better to chant before, not afterwards. So we should always pray to Lord Nrisimha Dev, Prahlada Maharaja, for our protection, especially in dangerous times. I had another experience since Maharaj told, sorry my voice, told so many nice stories. I went, see in the early days, sometimes we went alone on Harinam. Nobody with you, just alone, with cartels chanting on the street alone in Berlin. It was winter time. And then one crazy person came, approached me, and he wanted to pull down my dhoti. So I was chanting, Nrisimha Dev, Nrisimha Dev, very loudly. And then one very tall person, I remember, 2 meter tall person, he came and he just grabbed that rascal by the neck and his trousers, and he just threw him over the snow, the ice, like this. So that's one experience I had. No, I cannot chew and speak at the same time. So of course we are all very insignificant souls, and it's questionable whether Lord Nrisimha Dev really protected us. But that's the only shelter we have. Although we might be very insignificant, still we only know one shelter, and that is Lord Krishna, Lord Nrisimha Dev. And by practice, praying to the Lord, taking shelter in the Lord, then that will become our natural life. That in any condition, not only in dangerous conditions, but in any condition, to simply take shelter of the Lord. The ultimate question is, where do we take shelter? That's the whole point. As long as we take shelter in the material energy, there's danger at every step. Padam padam yat vipadam natesham. Every step there's danger. But when we take shelter in Krishna, Lord Nrisimha Dev, then there's padam padam yat Srimad Bhagavatam. At every step there's Srimad Bhagavatam. We remember Krishna. That's the perfection of Krishna consciousness. Among the 9 activities of devotional service, sometimes we hear chanting is most important. Sometimes we hear kirtan, chanting, hearing, shravanam is most important. Remembering is most important. But it is mentioned in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita that actually remembering smaranam, that is most important. Because our tongue our ears, these are tools for the mind. The tongue cannot remember Krishna. It can vibrate the holy name of Krishna. But then the ears receive that sound and they transmit the sound to the mind. And the mind factually remembers Krishna, thinks of Krishna. The eyes, in themselves, they cannot see anything. These are just material objects. These two balls in the sockets. They cannot see anything. So factually we see with our mind. And ultimately, of course, we see, the soul sees through the mind. And all the senses are simply tools for the mind to remember Krishna. So that smaranam is ultimately the most important. This is why we chant, this is why we hear, simply to remember Krishna. And the perfection of Krishna consciousness is to always remember, always think of Krishna and always remember Krishna. That's the perfection. And then as Lord Krishna promises in the Bhagavad Gita, that one who knows Lord Krishna as he is, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if he leaves his body in such a state of consciousness, being fully aware of Lord Krishna, then he can enter into the eternal abode of the Lord. Actually, Lord Krishna, sometimes these atheists, these asuras, like we heard the story, challenging sometimes the devotees. Where's your Lord? There's so much misery in this world. How can your Lord, God, allow all these things to happen? Where is he? Why doesn't he communicate with us? And I was thinking the other day, factually Lord Krishna communicates with the living entities in this world on a daily basis, every day. Every day. The only problem is it's Lord Brahma's day. And then the next day, Lord Brahma, it is 8,640,000,000 years, and that's the next day. But on Lord Brahma's time scale, Lord Krishna gives his darshan, reveals the absolute truth on a daily basis, every day. So that he doesn't appear to us every day, that's not Krishna's problem, this is our problem. Because we are so conditioned. We conditioned ourselves in such a way that we need to wait for billions of years till Lord Krishna again appears to us. But Krishna gives his darshan in so many different ways. I was also thinking that we might encounter some difficulties for some time. But imagine Hiranyakashipu, he was terrorizing the entire universe for 107,280,000 years. That's a problem. Not our small problems we simply have to tolerate for some time, a short period. These the demigods, devotees were terrorized for millions of years. And still, like Prahlada Maharaja and staunch devotees, they do not lose any faith in Krishna. Just the opposite. As more obstacles they have to encounter, as stronger their faith in Krishna becomes. So, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, Prahlada Maharaj, he's our guru. We humbly try to follow in his footsteps. As Jadvaita Swami so nicely explained, he was straightforward, speaking the truth. Because that also has to be done in a careful way. You can speak the truth in different ways. So to speak the truth should be also at the same time palatable as much as possible for the listeners. But the truth must be spoken. And the truth is, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Dva Bhuta Sargo Lokesmin Daiva Asura Evacha. There are only two created beings in the entire universe. And these are the Suras, the Devatas, the devotees, and the Asuras, the demons. Only these two types of people exist. And they always they clash into each other. That's the problem. Whatever the devotees do, the Asuras, they hate it. They don't like it. Like we have seen Hiranyakashipu's reaction to Prahlada Maharaj's speaking the truth. He could not tolerate, even up to the point of trying to kill his own son. What a mentality. They go so far. Just for their own purposes, they don't care to kill thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. They don't care. Just for their own sense gratification. Whereas a devotee, he cares for the life of even an ant. That's the difference. Devotee is concerned about the life, welfare of an ant. And these asuras, they don't care to kill millions of people for their own sense gratification. That's the difference. So we are so fortunate that we are in the association of the godly people, devotees. We are so fortunate. And of course, our foremost gratefulness goes to Srila Prabhupada, who brought this Krishna consciousness, who created the association of devotees, of these godly people, for us, that we can take shelter in it. So I would like to stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna. Schichtwechsel.
If you see me shivering, it is not due to ecstatic symptoms. It is one of the ecstatic symptoms, but not at this particular situation. Om Gyan Timidandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Destatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Titanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I seek the goodwill, blessings of the senior devotees here that I can somehow say something that has some meaning and some benefit. I think it's following in the footsteps of the previous devotees, sannyasis, gurus. The topic of fear seems to be the main element where we connect the Shringadev in our life. There's one particular... Oh, because I'm cold? Okay. I am cold. I gave a class one time in Ljubljana, and I was talking about symptoms of ecstasy, which is not a normal topic. And one very nice devotee, lady, she said, Maharaj, yes, I was chanting japa, and then I looked and I saw that the hairs of my body on my arms were standing straight up. And I thought, wow, I'm really chanting. But then I realized the place was cold. So, true story. Anyway, here's a particular prayer for those of you who were here at the very beginning of our wonderful festival. Isn't it a wonderful festival? I mean, personally speaking, I can't remember such a wonderful festival. The devotees, the enthusiasm, the pujas, everything about it is just so rich in enthusiasm, bhakti, and so many amazing activities centered around Lord Nrisimhadev. With that said, there's this particular verse from Prahlada Maharaja, which is not in the 7th canto, but it's in the Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto. And I like to chant it in a somewhat of a responsive way. And it's long, and so I'll do it in such a way that it becomes easy for everyone to follow. This is from the 5th canto, 18th chapter, verse number 8, and the residents of Jambudvip offer prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namas Teja Tejase Avir Bhava Vrajanaka, Vrajadamstra, Karmasayan, Radaya Radaya, Tamo, Grasa Grasa, Om Swaha, Abhayam Abhayam, Atmani, Bhuyasta, Om Shram. I'll read the translation because it really resonates with what everyone else has been speaking about, and as far as the mood that we are adopting in our relationship with Lord Nrisimha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrisimha, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. Again, the topic of fearlessness. So as was mentioned by the previous devotees, fear somewhat rules the material world. And I think it was Sachinandana Maharaj said that Prabhupada, quoting Prabhupada, that practically everyone in the material world, and I also remember Prabhupada had saying that from Lord Brahma, even down to the most insignificant creature, has this element of fear. So it somewhat pervades, because the material world means to somehow or other fulfill one's desires to become happy. And because that is not possible, or at least only temporarily successful, people live in a very marginal type of consciousness. They're always, along with trying to fulfill their desires, they're also at the same time in anxiety that it won't happen, or even if it does, it won't give me the satisfaction that I'm looking for. So there's always this anxiety or fearfulness. And of course, as Shakespeare said, there's the rub, which means the ultimate principle of fear is that somehow I will lose this material body. I will lose my situation. But devotees are not so fearful of leaving the body. But they have this, I'm just conjecturing, I could be more, not more than that, but the mood of what will happen after I leave the body. Will I actually make it to a better situation, or will I go back home, back to Godhead? Am I qualified? Or is there some offenses that I didn't rectify, and therefore I have to come back and suffer for those? So devotees feel a little bit, sometimes, anxious about what will happen, or am I ready, or will I ever become ready to, transform to the next situation in a favorable way. And ultimately, of course, devotees want perfection. Stories. I was in New Vrindavan. I started my practice of Krishna consciousness there. I came in March of 1973. Pretty much the end of March. And after 6 weeks in Krishna conscious practice, we got attacked by a motorcycle gang and the temple. It was quite harrowing, fearful. One of our Sankirtan team was doing book distribution in one city. And one of the brahmacharis got a little friendly with one lady there. Kind of went beyond his proper behavior, etiquette, ashram. And what happened was the girl was a daughter of a leader of a motorcycle gang. Haribo. Not Haribo, it's something else. But and at one point she told her father, I'm going to the West Virginia Hare Krishna community, and she just disappeared. So her father was really, upset about her leaving and then going there. So he gathered his friends, associates, the rest of the gang. 30 of them, they came to our community. And it was Bhagavatam class. And guess what the subject was? Sex life. Just happened to align itself with the kind of like improper behavior of the brahmachari. And so as soon as the leader of the community was speaking from the Bhagavatam, and as soon as he mentioned that topic and started to begin discussing it, a shotgun came through our window. And then, of course, devotees tried to. And then the gun went off, and 4 devotees got hit with buckshot. But unfortunately, one devotee lost his body later on because they weren't able to remove the buckshot from the body. But during that time, I was in the temple room, and we were surrounded by these gundas with guns and knives, and they were screaming at us and yelling. And so I had some training in military. I was in the army. So I thought, okay, devotees get low on the floor and then start chanting Nrisimha's prayers. So the devotees responded, and everybody started to chant really loud. I think what we were chanting was Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Maharaja. And these gundas, they started to go crazy. They became mad and started screaming at us. So I was thinking, what did we do wrong? Maybe we chanted in the wrong melody. Can't remember exactly what happened. But anyway, and then I kind of signaled to the devotees to, not devotees, they were devotees, yeah, to kind of, Namaste, Narasimha, softly. Because they got so frightened that they overreacted. So just by hearing the prayers glorifying Lord Nrisimha, it made them so frightened that instead of running, they actually became wild. And then things got a little bit crazy after that. But right after that, I think the residue of the actual success manifested. They all ran out of the temple room. And we were left there with one person who was the leader of the gang. But eventually, somehow or other, by the Lord's mercy, it could have been much worse. I mean, they wanted to really finish us off. They thought, who are these strange people? It must be some cult from another planet. And so they didn't have any remorse about abusing or even, trying to cause harm to us. But in the ultimate sense, it was Lord Nrisimha who somehow or other at first caused them to become very fearful, but then after that, they left because of that fear. There's more to the story. Actually, that incident is written by Vyasaki Prabhu, probably one of Prabhupada's disciples, in one book called Radha Damodar Vilas, volume number 2. You can read the whole account. He goes into it in quite detail. So I think, and there are so many incidents in the lives of the devotees where we've been in danger. Srila Prabhupada was giving a talk, it was a lecture. This was in 1972, and he was talking about that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He is all-powerful in all respects. And then Prabhupada switched, and he said, now in the world, the demons are increasing. This was in 72. And he said they will continue to increase. And he said, soon it'll become much more difficult for devotees. But he said, don't worry. And he was emphatic. He said, he said, just see what Prahlada Maharaja. He fully took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without any fear, completely protected despite all of the attempts by his demoniac father to end his life. Nothing could even, as it says, even move a hair on his body. So that's quite what we see, inconceivable. But when it comes to the Lord, He's also inconceivable in how he protects His devotees. And then Prabhupada went on to give another example how Devaki was also protected by Kamsa. And Prabhupada said, don't worry, there'll be trouble. The demons will increase. It'll become more and more difficult. But still, take shelter of Lord Nrisimha, take shelter of Krishna, chant the holy names of the Lord, and you'll always be protected. So Prabhupada gave us much assurance that, yes, and just look at the situation in the world today. It is quite volatile. If you look around, you can see things are escalating on all levels. But devotees know that they always protected. What we're concerned about is to give a chance for others who are also being victimized by this horrible civilization, which are run by Rakshasas. Prabhupada also said that. This is a Rakshasa demoniac civilization. He was talking mostly about Western culture, how it destroys all of the good qualities of the living beings. But he said for devotees, we have nothing to fear because Nrisimha is near. He's always here. So this element of fear is there. We all have some element of fear in some aspect of our desire to achieve or our desire to preserve in this world. But as was mentioned, always remember Krishna. Satatam kirtayan tomam. Always the great souls. And Srila Prabhupada talks about this a lot in his books and also in his lectures. Always remember the Lord. Of course he says Krishna, but Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Ram, the Nrisimha, the personality of Godhead was fully equipped to give all shelter. But this is only one, as it's mentioned here in this beautiful verse, one of the benefits that one achieves or receives from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His protective Shakti. There is another one that He protects against material illusions. Material illusions are even more, might say, pervading than the dangers in this world. He helps the devotee who takes shelter of Him see that, okay, this looks like something that I can enjoy. And the Lord is there. And if we pray, He'll say, He'll give us the intelligence or the ability or do something in that way we can see through these illusions. Yes, if I just get that girl, I'll be happy. Or if I just get this situation, my life will be much more profitable. So all of the projections or the ideas that may come in the way of our devotional service to kind of attract this, because that's Maya's business. Maya's main business is to somehow or other put difficulties in the path of the devotee, not to make them fall, but to strengthen their spiritual life by allowing them to take shelter of the Supreme Lord and overcoming these difficulties, because there's no other solution. Not by any material arrangement, not by any intelligence, not by any abilities, not by any previous experiences, can one actually become successful as we become, what we say, attracted or attempted to be attracted by the illusionary energy. And Maya is very strong. She's very, very strong. You see something or you hear about something, you get an attraction for that, and there's some desire to fulfill that. Lord Nrisimha is there, so we pray, Bahir Dishingo Hridaya. He can protect us, and He can also help us free ourselves from this desire to, become attracted to material things, which will cause us to either fall in our devotional service or to impede our spiritual progress, like that. So, because Maya is very strong. Prabhupada said, one of the problems of your Western disciples, he enunciated that Western, you do not fear Maya enough. He told us that. And that's something to think about. But devotees are not fearful. But still, when Prabhupada was asked, well, if devotees are supposed to be fearless, then is there any aspect of fear that we should cultivate? Is there anything that we should be fearful of? Prabhupada said, yes, you should be fearful of falling down in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, by taking shelter of the Lord, we might say being cautious, but that's not enough. Only by the mercy of the Lord, when we remember the Lord. Srila Prabhupada said, if you remember the lotus feet of the Lord, you will never be impeded in any of your attempts to engage in devotional service. And of course, that also extends itself to always being protected by the Lord in all aspects. So we have the examples, Prahlada Maharaja. And Prabhupada said, and this is quite amazing, I used to hear this, I would think, wow. He said, you can become like Prahlada Maharaj. But he said, don't try to jump into a pot of boiling oil and test it out. He said, not like that. He said that if you follow the process and develop your attraction and ultimately surrender to the Lord, then one can qualify themselves to become completely free from all fear. So, and that is a great achievement in this material world, because it's not something that is easily awarded or easily achieved. But Lord Nrisimha is very merciful. He gives it quite easy. And there's so many stories in the life of devotees, how Lord Nrisimha protects his devotees. I think we could go on all day speaking about these stories. My sister, she's a devotee also, and she was doing Sankirtan, This is way back in the New Vrindavan days. And they were going in places that were somewhat restricted. And the devotees were going into this shopping mall. And they had signs outside, no soliciting. And in other words, it was risky to go in there. And so my sister was telling me, she said, I was about to go in, and then I heard this voice, and I was sure it was Lord Nrisimha, and he said to me, don't go. So I didn't go. And all the other devotees went in, got arrested, but I didn't. So many times, for whatever reason, the Lord will, even if you don't take shelter, of course, we don't recommend this protocol, but even if you don't take shelter, if you're engaged in devotional service, that is shelter, obviously. The Lord is there to protect His devotee. In fact, He likes to do that. That gives Him great pleasure. So just to reciprocate the devotee's devotion. So thank you very much. I hope you're all finding this particular festival nourishing, spiritually nourishing, and at the same time very enjoyable. Yes? A little louder. Yes? Come on. Rivo! Sri Nrisimha Bhagavan Ki! Prahlada Maharaja ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.